Oh,
We are live.
we are live. Look at us, Seth. I'm excited to be doing this. What do we want to call it? TDS live. I like that.
I think that's good for the first round.
Yeah,
Just TDS live.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, it's on. It's on the Twitter. It's on the Twitter sphere. Perfect.
There we go.
Look at you, man. You're smart.
Well, they make it pretty easy on the StreamYard here. And if you don't like the name TDS Live, if you pay for it, we'll name it something else.
Exactly. We are looking for people to pay us money for this. Right. Let's see. Well, I mean, you kind of want to get into it, or you want to wait for? I don't know how this works. Do we want to wait for people, or just kind of go and then they'll join us?
I say let's just go, and then if you miss something, you can catch it on. So if you're watching this live and you miss something, you can catch it on YouTube as soon as we're finished here. It'll be on the Daily Stampede YouTube page, so you can go back and view it later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, let's kick it off. Our first show, we did a little test run, last week or the week before. Went well, enjoyed it. So we're going to try to do this every week. It's going to be kind of Seth's baby here. So it's our way of getting him back on board without having to write the previews every single week.
So this will be hopefully, and our test run worked well. Hopefully, if this kind of works well, this will be how we do the review of the previous week's game every week. We'll put it up on here live, so if people want to come and ask questions, or they're just bored and want to watch as we go through it, they can view it live, and then it'll also go up to YouTube as we did last year. Everything kind of went up to YouTube later. So this will hopefully be the format going forward, and we can do some of it live and add some interactivity into it.
Absolutely. I'm excited. So for this first show, we're going to kind of touch on the preseason poll that came out last week during the American Athletic Conference media days that were virtual, and I'm excited for it, folks. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be an interesting year. So let's kick right off and go right into the poll here. How about that? So everybody knew Cincinnati was going to be the choice here. I think they come in the coaches poll at number 10, probably for good reason. They're a good team. A lot of guys return, and when you bring back a quarterback who's been there for, I think, 17 years, it seems like at this point, and still can't throw a spiral, but is still actually pretty good. It's impressive what Desmond Ritter's been able to do. What are your thoughts on Cincinnati here, Seth, as we kind of kick things off?
I think it was kind of an easy pick at the top there. They returned a lot of the guys from last year, returned some really good players on defense, a couple of guys that are already getting kind of early first, second round hype at corner and then at rush end. And then they returned a lot of the guys in the offense that really improved a lot last year. So I think you'd have to like their chances at the top. Then after that, I think it's kind of jumbled up a lot.
Right.
UCF is second here. I could see them really taking to the new staff and playing well, but I could also see there being some growing pains there. So it's kind of hard to see how they're going to play. SMU's always brings in a ton of transfers, so they have talent, but are they going to be able to pick up where especially the quarterback position Shane Buechele left off? I don't know. But I think there's a lot of kind of room for teams to move up and down the poll here.
Right, absolutely. I was one of the 22 people that gave Cincinnati that first place vote for good reason. And then I actually had SMU second. I think, Central Florida has a really good quarterback. I can't take anything away from Dylan Gabriel, but I think we all saw in 2017 with the coaching change with Quentin Flowers. I mean, he's still otherworldly, but it can regress to the mean. And they went 6-3 last year, 6-4. So it's not like they were beating the doors off of people, right? So it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what the defense looks like with Randy Shannon unfortunately gone. It should be better. They got a lot of good transfers in. Big Cat from Auburn, and a few others, and just more maturity. I mean, up and down the entire conference, there's going to be more experience than there was a year ago, right? A lot with that extra year. But yeah, I think SMU is going to give Cincinnati a run for their money more than I think Central Florida will. And then I put it in the story. I think 4 through 7 is take your pick. I don't have a read on any of them. I like Tulane 4th, but I think that's maybe because I think Tulane's my second favorite college football team. And I love their I guess still freshman quarterback, and I think Willie Fritz finally started to catch some tread. We're always looking for proof of concept. I think finally he may have started to get it, but Tulsa lost too many pieces. Memphis lost a quarterback. Houston, I don't know what Dana's doing.
Yeah, I think the theme for most everybody after Cincinnati really kind of on the teams ready here, like 2 through 10, is kind of lack of continuity at some part, either on the team where you're bringing back a lot. Even Tulane, you mentioned they bring back their quarterback, they bring back a lot of guys, but new offensive coordinator.
Right.
Will Hall left for a head coaching job. East Carolina actually brings back a ton on both sides of the ball, but they still haven't made that jump that it seems like they're supposed to make every year.
Right.
So they're kind of a hard team to figure out. I think it's going to be really jumbled. But one thing I do feel pretty good about is I don't think South Florida is going to end up last. I think USF will not be last in the conference this year. I think that honor will go to Temple. I don't think they're going to be very good this season. I think
Agreed.
USF, I'm not sure exactly what the total wins will be, but I think they'll get a couple in conference, and that'll get them out of the bottom, I think.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think, much like USF baseball, this team's not going to finish last. I had them finishing 8th this year ahead of Temple, Navy, and ECU. And I'm absolutely hang the banner, Heath, for sure. Hang it, not last. That's the goal, right? It's you're minus 1.5 at this point.
We're gonna put it next to the almost tag team champion banner.
Exactly.
It goes right next to that one.
And I'm excited for what USF can be, but they're not ready to make any sort of leap. I think a bowl game's probably a stretch. I put something out on Twitter, I think last week or the week before, and I was trying to actually troll the wrong set of fan base that got really irked by it. I was trying to troll Central Florida as always, and the Cincinnati fans just jumped in my mentions, so that was fun. If USF runs the table, right, 12-0, the teams that they've beat on the whole would make them more likely to be in the college football playoff than any other team in the American. Cincinnati, starting at number 10, that's higher than I expected. So maybe my thought process goes out the window.
They do get Notre Dame in the non-conference, but it's kind of it's a bit of a toss-up between who do you think is going to be better, Notre Dame or Florida.
Right.
And then there's also a lot of people that really like North Carolina State with their quarterback coming back. So that would be another one. Now, this is obviously a kind of a dream scenario where somehow USF runs the table. But if they did, this is not an easy schedule. This is one of the tougher schedules, I think, in the country, especially in the non-con.
Absolutely. And just kind of briefly looking, 1, 2. I think USF plays 6 or 7 teams that got votes in the coaches poll that came out Monday or Tuesday. Cincinnati and Florida are 10 and 11 back-to-back respectively. I think, what is it? BYU is like 30th. They got 53 votes. Central Florida got 29 votes. SMU got 4. Tulsa got 6. I mean, it's a tough conference, and getting 5 wins with who they play, it's a tall task. I think 4 is probably the benchmark here. little inside baseball here. I was speaking with the marketing director at Irish 31. Shout out to our podcast sponsor. Love them. Go down to Irish 31 at all times and drink, be merry, get some fish and chips, get a burger, hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. We were kind of figuring out who, what game we should do the away game party that we always do every year. And we were just kind of going through the schedule, and I'm like, well, I mean, it could be USF being 1-3 going into the SMU game. They have an alumni association event for that SMU game, October 2nd. And she was asking me, when do you think that game will be? And I was like, well, if USF's 1-3, it's probably going to be at noon on ESPN Plus. But if they steal a couple, if they steal the NC State game or BYU game or something like that, and they're 2-2 going into the game, maybe it's put on noon on like ESPNU or something like that. That game's just really, really up in the air of where it can fall. It's just such a tough schedule. I know the first 4 opponents, I think, have, or at least 3 of them have new quarterbacks. You mentioned NC State bringing their quarterback back. It's Brady Hockman, right? Hockman?
No, it's so they had at the beginning of last season, I think his name's Devin Leary, who seemed to be their better quarterback. He got hurt. Hockman came in and played all right for him, played pretty decently, but a lot of people think Leary is kind of that dude, and he's going to take a next step because he was playing really well before he got hurt. So he comes back after not playing for a lot of the year. So when you kind of look at their returning starts, it doesn't look like a lot, but that's actually their starter that's coming back from injury. And then, like you said, Florida's breaking a new quarterback. He's a talented guy, but it is going to be his first game starting on the road. And then BYU will be breaking in a new quarterback as well, which is another game. I think that might be a gettable game early. I'm not real high on BYU. They lost a lot off of a really good team last year.
They did. And it's going to be tough. You never want to be the guy who follows the guy. And Mormon Manziel was the guy. So it's going to be tough for BYU to replace that. And, I mean, there's really no breaks until October 23rd, right? So you get October 23rd, you're at home versus Temple, and then 5 days later, you go on the road against ECU. So you could steal those 2 games and feel pretty good about yourself going into the last half of the year. But, I mean, the last 4 games are Houston, Cincinnati, at Tulane, at Central Florida. So much like previous years, I think 2019 going in 4-4 into November and you lose the last 4, it could be setting up for failure there as well. But progress. Steal one of those games. Steal that Tulane game. There's going to be a lot of USF fans there. Steal that game.
Yeah, I think there's a path to 5, but it will involve better quarterback play, which I think we're seeing a couple people mention in the comments here.
Right.
I think better quarterback play will kind of help. And I think, Jeff Scott kind of said it this week. They feel a lot better where they're at this season than they did last year at the quarterback position. I know you wrote something about that.
Yeah, he didn't mince his words at all, brother. Let's get that direct quote. I think we have multiple guys. Deep down, when offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss and I get into that room and shut the door, there are more than 2 guys we feel like we can win with this year. We did not feel that way last year.
Me neither.
Same. Cut to Jordan McLeod and Noah Johnson throwing their hands up like, what the hell did we do to you? It was a COVID year.
Yeah, I think they might have felt all right with Jordan by the end of the year. But, yeah, it was just the musical chairs rotating, a carousel of quarterbacks last year. I kind of had wanted to see more Cade Fortin all year. We finally saw a little bit more of him, and he hurt himself. So it was just kind of one of those years. But they seem to be in a pretty good place coming into this season. That's kind of what we wanted to talk about a little bit in the second half here after kind of going through the poll is what they have at quarterback coming back and kind of the 3 guys that are probably at the top of this battle, or at least the 2 guys that have played a little bit, and then kind of the dark horse coming up in the freshman, Timmy Mcclain. So I mean, what are you thinking? What are you hearing about that kind of position battle? Because it's probably the key one of the season. It's going to help kind of define the season,
Right.
I'd imagine.
Right. Steve, you bring up a pretty good point here. It's quarterback and then it's defensive line for this team, trying to figure those two out. We'll touch on quarterback tonight, and maybe next week we'll do a deeper dive into the defensive line because there were some issues there last year.
Congrats on Rise of the Resistance, by the way, Steve.
Yeah, man, that's huge, brother. Group 27 or something like that, man. That's huge. I still haven't ridden it. Hopefully it's as good as advertising. I don't psych myself up, so when I actually do ride, I'm like, oh.
It's all about controlling expectations.
I don't. I'm a USF fan, and I can't. I'm either they're going 0-12 or 12-0. That's it. There's no in between. Absolutely no in between. Yeah, it's Cade Fortin. I mean, coming out of spring, he absolutely crushed it. You could tell that he had a full year under his belt in this system compared to the other guys, and it really showed. He had command and control of this offense that we didn't see last year at any point. Maybe the UCF game, but I mean, when you're playing, against air, it's pretty easy to pitch and catch and stuff. But yeah, I think it's Cade's job to lose at this point. We're 3 weeks away tonight from opening night, and who knows? By the BYU game, by the SMU game, it could be a completely different quarterback. But I think Cade's done enough to separate himself right now to be the starting quarterback. And that's not to say that Jaren Williams or Timmy Mcclain or Travis Marsh aren't doing well. I think by all accounts, they're all doing good. It's just Cade's just at another level right now. And that's why Jeff Scott handpicked him last year to be his guy. And he just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, that was kind of the weird thing throughout the year. We heard some stuff in the offseason that I know the previous staff had a kid that was set to transfer in that was a pretty good player, and he was going to, even after the staff turnover, they told Coach Scott that, hey, this kid will still transfer in if you want him. And Scott's like, I got a kid at North Carolina. So he Fortin was his hand-picked guy to come in here. He kind of had a choice of different guys that wanted to come in, and he picked Fortin. So when he didn't get a ton of playing time early last year, it was a little bit perplexing, but he was dealing with some injury stuff or some, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on last year.
Right.
And then he finally got a chance to play and got hurt. But they were saying things about him in preseason camp or throughout the year last year that, I think Charlie Weiss said this is one of the smartest kids I've ever coached. He's really picking things up. He's really smart. And when a coach says something like that, you got to think they feel pretty good about putting him in the game and understanding what's going on.
Right.
So you felt like he was gaining momentum, that by the end of the year, he might be looking to take over. His injury happened and that goal got pushed back. He had a really good spring, as you mentioned, but there were some other guys that had pretty good springs too. So it's really much better competition, it seems like, than in previous seasons, where there was either no competition or you had one or two guys, but neither was a great option. Here it seems like you've got some guys with pedigree, right. And whichever one is the winner of the competition, you have to feel pretty good with it going forward.
Absolutely. It's I try to think back when I was writing this article, when I felt more comfortable about a quarterback room. And I couldn't really think of one. 2017 was okay. It was Quentin Flowers' senior year, and then you had Brett Keane and Chris Oladokin there as a redshirt sophomore and a redshirt freshman backing him up. But you never you worried if Quentin. I mean, you worried if Quentin got hurt and things go sideways, right? But any four of these guys right now. You tell me that they're the starting quarterback. I'm like, okay, yeah, they probably beat everyone out, and we'll see how it goes. And it's getting the live rounds, right? It's Jaren Williams he's just so far behind live rounds right now. We talked to him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I mean, he hasn't been hit in a year. Seth, as a former quarterback, that's something that you've got to really kind of get over at some point.
He might have gotten enough of him in that 1 year at Miami that he's good for. He was good for a while, but it's tough. It's the speed of everything it's tough when you're away for a while, and it wasn't like I don't think he was even practicing last year, right? Because he transferred to JUCO and then they didn't have a season, correct? Right. So he wasn't practicing either. So that's tough. I'm sure he's getting working on his own. I believe where he's from, there's a ton of guys that go to these really good quarterback trainers and things like that. So I'm sure he was working, but it's not the same as being out there full speed with helmets and pads on and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But like you said, I think you have to feel pretty good. Each guy, so the two older guys, I mean, Fortin and William, they've got experience starting in the ACC. Jaren for a whole season at Miami, which is a pressure cooker, right? And then the younger guys have all flashed. Marsh has flashed a huge arm, and Mcclain has flashed a lot of freaky athleticism and a big arm too.
And a great smile and great personality. I still can't get over. If you guys haven't watched United the vlog that they put out, that USF Football put out this week, I fell in love. Timmy's going to break every USF record ever. Not even just like football, like everything. Like the kid's just that charismatic, and just the control that he has and the personality, it's going to go a long way.
And he seemed to have the respect of some upperclassmen too, because he was kind of walking around with Michaela Point, I believe it was.
Yep.
And going through the locker room. So that's always good when you see a young guy that came in, because he didn't come in. He's young. Didn't come in super early. He's already got it. Looks like he's got the respect of those older guys. That's always a big deal. So do you want to go ahead and watch a little bit of these guys? We got a little bit of clips, so we can let stuff run while we talk about it here.
Absolutely.
We don't have a ton on Cade Fortin, unfortunately. His best game seemed to be his best action was kind of that Tulsa action there. But here we got a little jet sweep action. Not much.
Oh, Amari is going to be good. I'm excited.
The
wide receiver room is so much better.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of show Fortin really quickly here, because you got to see a little bit of him last year, and he had a really big spring. You see here, he's got a good arm. Throws an accurate ball to the sideline to pick up a fourth down. And he's got some athleticism too. Here we go. He's going to take off here. This is the run before he got injured.
Yep.
And he's also, if you go back and watch his stuff in North Carolina, he had a 40-yard run against Virginia Tech. So if they want to do some more stuff with the quarterback run, which I think would suit all these guys, right. I think Jaren Williams was one of the top dual threat quarterbacks when he was coming out. He can throw, but he's got some legs too, and Mcclain is really athletic. So if you want to do some more quarterback run stuff, that would work. Here you're going to see Williams doing some kind of RPO stuff, which they want to do. Charlie Weiss wants to do. They kind of lived on it at FAU. Play action and RPO.
I just we talked about this game on the podcast. It's been mentioned on Twitter and everything. This game is the reason why Charlie Weiss and Jeff Scott went out and got Jaren Williams, because of, as you mentioned, the RPOs that they ran at FAU. You need a quarterback who can read the entire field. You need to be able to read the correct guy on these plays, and he lit Louisville up. And this game, I think,
backers go forward, leave a big hole. That's the idea behind it, right?
Yeah, and I think Miami, they were 5-4 going into the game. So this game got them bowl eligible, right? And it's that's no big feat, man. This kid has taken his lumps. Like, he got sacked 10 times at Florida in the season opener of this season, and then I think Duke got him for 7 more sacks a few games later. Like, he took his lumps and was still in there firing away, and that's what you need. I think he would self-admit that he wasn't
Here's
he
another
wasn't as
RPO.
mature as he wanted to be, but it seems like he's grown up, and I think anyone will tell you JUCO humbles you, and I think he realized that. So kudos to him. I think it's going to be an exciting time. Erica, you asked, is he too far behind Fortin in playbook knowledge? I mean,
what's good about being an experienced guy is he may know some of the theory behind the plays, and he's just learning the terminology of it. Right here, this is just a stretch RPO. USF will run this. He comes to Phil. I just throw right behind his head. So this is something he'd probably run at USF. Makes a good throw with pressure in his face. But, they may call it Arizona at Miami this year, and maybe USF calls it something totally different. So I think it's that kind of stuff. But what you see out of him is you see some physical tools. You see him move in the pocket here, make an accurate throw downfield. And you see here, again, kind of hitting this window, showing run action. Phil leaves a big gap behind it. If you go back and watch FAU and Weiss's last year, they were doing a lot of stuff like this. And then this throw is really impressive right here. You see it's 3rd and 15. They're running almost like Tampa 2, where I'm getting deep, and this guy's going to be Derek Brooks, but he is not Derek Brooks, and run the pipe and try to run back here. This is a tough throw. So you see the throw he has to make between kind of 3 guys, over the top of one and in front of the other. And then, so that's Jaren Williams. You see he's talented. That's all from one game. But to answer the question, I think he'll kind of he'll know some of the ideas behind the play, some of the theory. He's probably behind in terminology, but that's something that guys pick up pretty quick. So he maybe not have the total mastery of it, but he can pick it up, I would think. He's an experienced guy that's played a lot of football already.
Agreed. And we tried to find any spring game highlights. Could not find it. It's not on the identity. USF didn't put out any highlights. I literally have no idea where they put out a bunch of GIFs, but I don't think GIFs would do what we're trying to do here justice. But
and here's kind of there's I think they've put out a video on Facebook and things like that, but it wasn't like a field view of everything. It was kind of really quick cuts, and it was a highlight tape. So we're just going to kind of look through guys. And so here's kind of, I think, the dark horse of the quarterback competition, and just kind of let this run while we kind of talk about him. Timmy Mcclain. You see here, left-handed, move in the pocket, throw a strike downfield for a touchdown. This guy is really talented. I think getting him and his receiver in this class was huge. And these are 2 guys that can kind of really push USF forward as their careers go on. But you'll see some throws and catches here. I mean, what are you hearing about Timmy Mcclain? Are you hearing anything about him? And what do you anticipate his role is going to be this season as we kind of let these highlights roll through?
Kid's an absolute freak, and you're seeing it, right? They've been so high on him since he committed, and he hasn't disappointed at all. And it's one of those things where you kind of know it. You know it when you see it, and this kid has it. And as you mentioned, getting his teammate Jimmy Horn in the fold when there was a late push with some P5 teams coming in, on signing day to grab him as well.
Georgia among them, who's signed one of the top 5 classes in the country.
Right. And I think Jackson State with Deion Sanders, Coach Sanders, excuse me.
Coach Prime.
Coach Prime coming after him as well. It was a huge get for Jeff Scott, and they've said we're trying to get him ready. We want him ready and available game 1. Have him up to speed as soon as possible. I'm excited for that. I mean, DeMarcus Gregory has been absolutely bonkers with some highlight reel catches already in fall camp. Yusuf Terry from Baylor, Latrell Williams is still here. Amari Dawson, Bryce Miller. I mean, there's talent on this roster. It really comes down to who the quarterback is and can they make the plays. And I think we're going to see Timmy on the field sooner rather than later. Like unless Cade or Jaren or someone just absolutely blows the doors off this place, I think that you'll see more of Timmy in the last 4 games of the year, just to not burn a season, so he can still redshirt. So if USF's struggling, they're 2-6 going into the last 4 games. Throw him out there, see what happens. You get Houston. The last 4 games are Houston, Cincinnati, Tulane, and Central Florida. Throw him out there, see what happens. You kind of get eased in with Houston anyway, and then you kind of run the tougher side of things. But I'm excited to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, just with his athleticism. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some type of package for him throughout the season. I'm not plugged in with his staff, so I'm not sure if that's what they're thinking or if they want to kind of run with one guy. But he's a guy that can provide some different things than Cade Fortin, a different look to your offense. And you can see here, it's not just all go routes and deep balls. He's having to make some reads, sit in the pocket, do some things. But then he can take off and do stuff like this with his legs. So he's kind of, to me, the dark horse. And I think that's kind of what you're hearing is
yep.
You hear Jeff Scott kind of compliment the older guys, but then when people ask about Mcclain, he's effusive in his praise of how he's doing so far, especially for a young guy. So
right.
Maybe you'll see some type of package from him, but if not, like you said, maybe they'll hold him, and then once he'll get his 4 games to maintain his red shirt, but still get that experience and really take advantage of that rule. Allowing guys to do that.
I think if you guys remember in 2019, Jacquez Evans kind of had that same kind of role, just giving you a different look. And he crushed it in the ECU game. Unfortunately, got hurt, and now he's no longer with the program. I don't think it's going to be quite the same because they believe Timmy is a quarterback through and through, and he is a quarterback through and through. He's not. Jacquez he didn't have the quarterback thing. Just talking to folks that were around the program, he was a wide receiver. He was a running back. That's why they used him, and it worked really well for them. But this is a kid you want to make sure that you're getting him in the right spots, making sure you can you cut the field in half, make sure he's doing the right things, and that first snap that he takes at quarterback, I think he'll be only the second lefty quarterback to take a snap for USF, if I'm not mistaken. Evan Landy is the other, who then turned into a tight end. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of springs to mind another left-handed quarterback in kind of different styles. But Tebow's freshman year, they brought him in a lot of run situations at Florida. But it also, you start the season by using him in run situations, and then people start to load up for run, and the guy's a good enough passer that you can start making people pay for that, especially in the red zone. People load up the box, have him roll out and hit some, So there's different things you can do. So if they did want to use him in that way, I think it'd be a role for him. But there is also something to letting him learn, keeping that red shirt, and then kind of unleashing him if you feel like he's the guy in the coming seasons. But he's really talented, and I think the staff really likes what he brings to the table.
Agreed. And it's just you talked about it. The way that Jeff Scott talks about Timmy Mcclain is just so different than how he talks about the other quarterbacks. And it's not like that he's dogging the other quarterbacks. It's just like, yeah, this is the guy. We got a good one here.
You hear the word special like peppered in every time he talks about him. He's special. You'll hear that once kind of every time that that Coach Scott's asked about Mcclain. So Eric's asking, is Marsh the clear odd man out? I don't know. It's in the way kind of college football is now. If you're not starting or getting playing time, a lot of guys transfer. I don't know.
Right.
I think they're giving everybody a shot, but that's the tough thing about quarterback is only one guy can really play at a time. So you got your shot in camp, and if you don't take advantage of it, you may not see the field. It's just I think the room has gotten a lot better than it was last year and in previous years. So he may end up being the odd man out. I don't know. We'll see kind of how it goes here in camp, but they've got a lot of good options this year, whereas last year you kind of felt like some of your options were too young. Some of them were too small. It was like a nightmare Goldilocks scenario where you never kind of found anybody that was just right. So,
right. I mean, if I'm Travis, I'm sure he's probably already thinking it. I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder, right? It's everyone, including us. I will throw us into this mix. Everyone's talking about the 2 transfers. They're talking about the freshmen. Literally, no one is talking about Travis because, well, he's not the shiny new toy anymore, right? It's Timmy.
No.
It's Timmy season, and he was a fairly highly rated recruit as well, coming out of high school last year, coming off a state title win as well. So he's no slouch.
He was committed to Utah for a long time. He was taking quarterbacks out of Miami and had a lot of success with them. And he's a guy that's got some physical tools. He's got a big arm, and he got some experience. He had growing pains, but that's kind of how it's going to be for most freshmen. So, but he got him out of the way last year.
Right.
Can he take those physical gifts and kind of take the next step forward?
Right.
That's kind of the challenge for him. But he's got talent. That's the good problem is none of these guys I don't think you're looking at and feeling like, all right, well, this guy's not really talented. He's just a game manager. I think you feel like with all these guys, whichever one is the first string guy, you have to feel pretty good about them rolling him out there because all these guys have a lot of talent.
Yeah. And I said it the other day, this isn't a 2013, 2014 nightmare scenario where, the guys are just really bad, right? Like Bobby Eveld and Matt Floyd aren't walking through that door, thankfully. Like there's actual talent in this quarterback room.
Every single one of these guys had, I would not looking at all the recruiting profiles, but I'm almost certain every single one of these guys had multiple Power 5 offers. A couple of them took them and now came down, but came this way. But I think Mcclain had Power 5 offers. Like I just said, Marsh was committed to Utah for a long time, and I think he decommitted himself when they brought on a transfer quarterback. So I don't think they dropped him. So this is a talented group. And that's just kind of all you're hoping to do is keep accumulating talent at all the position groups. You're seeing it at other position groups too, and then that's where you get that healthy competition in practice and kind of iron sharpens iron, and you kind of get better as a team because you're competing at practice with really good players.
Exactly. I'm actually looking up Timmy's profile right now. He had an offer from Boston College, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, Colorado State.
Coastal Carolina would be interesting.
Yeah.
And that offer.
Kentucky, Louisville, Central Florida, West Virginia, Western Kentucky all offered as well.
And when I heard Scott talk right before COVID hit last year, they had a coaches clinic and I went to it. And I heard him talk about what type of recruiting battles they need to start winning. And he said, we got to start. He's like, I don't know how many times we're going to beat Alabama. He's like, we'll try for a couple kids every year, beat Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Ohio State, those kind of teams. Like, we'll try it. We'll try a couple kids. He's like, but we got to beat the Indianas, the Kentuckys, the West Virginias. We got to beat them for our local kids. As you kind of just started rattling off those offers, that's what they did for him. That's what they did for his receiver Horn. And they did that for a few guys this class. And that's kind of, you're just starting to see them build the talent level back up.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. The one guy I'm okay losing a recruiting battle to is Tom Allen. There's literally nothing that man can do wrong. Like, for only being here for a year, he had such an impact on the entire fan base and like the team in general. I think like post Levitt, he's probably the most well-liked coach that any player's ever come across. You ask any former player, like anyone right now, tweet at any single former player, Augie, gosh, Nico Sautel, Devin Abraham, they're all going to say Tom Allen was their favorite coach. And then probably
I've never heard a bad word about the guy. I follow some guys that coach up in Indiana that I think coached for him when he was coaching in high school up there, and they rave about him. When he got the job there, they're like, he's going to kill it. So, I mean, I haven't heard really anybody say a bad word about the guy. Now, unfortunately, he did, as Eric mentions here, steal Michael Penix Jr. But you say you're all right with that, right?
Yeah, why not? I was 29 the Navy game that we went to together in 2019. His mom was on the flight back because I think they were playing Maryland that weekend. So she was on the flight back to Tampa, which was pretty cool. She had his little jersey pin. That was cool. I wanted to say something, but I think he had gotten hurt that weekend, so I didn't want to be like too pushy.
Yeah. Don't mess with mamas.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. To the crowd right now, do you guys like this format? I mean, it's the first time we're doing it. Do you guys have any questions that we haven't answered? Is there anything that you guys want to see in the next one? We're open to it. Our first time doing this. Excited to bring this on. Seth's going to be doing like the film room breakdowns on this. So it's going to be live film room sessions.
And the film should be a lot better looking than it was when we recorded the Zooms. For some reason, something got lost in translation there in the Zoom recording. So hopefully this is much better and looks a little smoother to you guys. That's kind of why we're making the switch, is we can do it here, get some interaction, and then the film will be better too. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the film looked good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so with the regards to can it be recorded for a podcast? So where I mentioned this at the very beginning, but I think this was before anybody came on. So this is live. Well, we have it live on Twitter. It's live on YouTube. And once we stop streaming, it will be saved to the YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch it on YouTube, or if you want to just listen, you can just listen to it. But it will be on the Daily Stampede YouTube page. So if you look for that on YouTube, this should be posted there as like a normal video as soon as we've stopped recording here.
Yep. And what we can probably do as well, I don't know, maybe Vito can pull the audio file and put it on the podcast feed. It won't be, I don't think it'll be part of like the actual, it won't be labeled the Illuminati podcast, but it'll just be on the feed for just the audio version. You'll miss the video and stuff, so you'll be like, what player are they talking about? Yeah. But it'll be a fun guessing game for you if your memory recall is really good. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think the video would be the best for this, and I think your best bet is if you want to catch it after is through YouTube. We may start streaming to other platforms as well at the same time, possibly Facebook, maybe even Twitch, because there's no new NCAA football games for us to play live, so we'll just talk and stream that there instead. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And I think what we'll be able to do too. I know we're going on 45 minutes here. We can actually cut up parts of this feed and just put it out as little blurbs to. If there's a especially cool thing that you guys wanted to see, just that part, we can chop it up, put it out for you guys. So it'll be fun. Ooh, each position group, Chris. Interesting. Do you want to? I mean,
I don't know if we got enough time. Maybe we'll have to double up. I don't know if we'll have. We may not have as much video for each one because it'll be tough to watch. Like 12 different videos for the receivers, but we could definitely jump on and talk about them. So yeah,
absolutely.
So what five? All right, we got a question. What 5 games do I think they might be able to win? I think looking at the schedule right now, let's throw the schedule. Let's see if I can throw the schedule up here. All right, so let's look at the schedule here. So I think what the 5 I think are doable are FAMU, BYU, and then these 3 here I think are possible. Tulsa's tough, but they lost a ton. I think that's doable. And then I don't know what you're going to get out of these last 4 because Houston's one of the more talented teams, but they haven't quite lived up to that recently. Cincinnati's one of your better teams. UCF, that's a rivalry game. You never know what could happen. Last year was wild. This year's going to be probably similar. And then Tulane, Nate, you said maybe that could be one depending on how their season goes. But
Right.
I think BYU's gettable. That sounds crazy after last year, but they lost a ton, and they didn't really play anybody last year. That's kind of the hidden thing with BYU. They didn't really play a ton of great teams last year. So those would be my 5 if I had to really go out on a limb and say 5. So kind of win 2, split your non-con, and then grab 3 in conference.
Yeah.
That would be
I'm stupid, and I think they can win. I think they can beat NC State because why not? And then FAMU, and then Temple and ECU. I think 4. They've got one weird surprise win for sure, like just up their sleeve this year.
That's what Houston's kind of Houston could be an interesting one. But
man, we're talking ourselves into like 8-4 at this point. If we keep going.
I'm 5 is like a stretch goal to me. 5. I think their over under is 3.5. I think they'll be over, but it'll be close. I think.
I think they'll be over too.
I think Absolutely. It really depends. I think BYU is a big swing game for that. If they can go on the road and beat BYU, then you've got that with you're assuming FAMU. I think Temple they should have, and then it kind of comes down to can you win Tulsa, ECU, one of those 2, or your talent level is pretty close.
Chris, if Strong can pull out a win against BYU, I believe Scott and company can. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, USF beat BYU without Zach Wilson, and he's not there anymore. So why not do it again?
Probably the same quarterback, Jaren Hall, and I think they're down a few of those unbelievably huge linemen they had last year, and a lot of guys on defense. So I think that's a gettable one early. At worst, it'll be a cool trip probably for anybody that makes that trip out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to try to plan to have someone out there for coverage. It just the flights back on Sunday suck. For people who have work on Monday morning who just started a new job and doesn't want to get fired yet. So I think the best flight is like me coming in, getting back into Tampa at like 12:30. So I wouldn't get home until like 1 and then turn around and go to work. That's tough. I mean, I would do it, but we'll see. I may have to send someone for that.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of all we wanted to talk about tonight. Hopefully we'll make this weekly, and then, we'll see if we kind of get feel pretty good about it. Maybe we'll do this for one of the away games too. Maybe some type of pregame, halftime, postgame show type thing. We've talked about that. So just a cool little way for us to kind of interact and talk in real time and not do kind of just the general podcast format. Just something different.
Something different. Get you guys more engaged. I mean, love our readers. Love interacting with you guys. And I think this is just another tool in the tool belt to engage with you guys, build some rapport and get some more content out there that I know this fan base and this market sorely needs. Connor,
let's leave with that last
stay
question.
off the weed.
I think that's a great last question. And listen, if you think they can get to 5, then that's not one you're counting in the 5. So could a bowl game be dependent on the war on I-4?
Oh man.
Is that where you just want to end the broadcast right there?
I mean, what better way to get kicked in the nuts than the year is losing out on bowl eligibility because you lose to your rival. And that could be talking about either team at this point. We don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna be interested. That they will be a very interesting story this year because that team, Heupel did like to run the ball, but Gus Malzahn is a wing T coach. Basically, he just figured out how to move. Like he's got early books on coaching the wing T when he was a high school coach. A lot of his stuff is wing T stuff. He just spread it out a little bit, but a lot of the same concepts. So it'll be really interesting to see how the quarterback meshes with his style. He hasn't really shown the ability to really accentuate a downfield passer in his offense yet.
No.
So that'll be interesting.
I mean, he got to the title game with Nick Marshall, right? That was him.
He was not a passer. So, he was the defensive back at Georgia.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I mean, Dylan Gabriel, he must have been hitting the weights pretty hard if he's going to be pulling some Nick Marshall in the open field.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit more like Penny Marshall in the open field.
Oh man. Oh Lord. I was just about to say something. I lost it. It was about Dylan Gabriel. Oh, Dylan Gabriel and Cade Fortin. There's two things that both of them have in common. Is they need to learn how to slide.
Yes.
So that's going to be vital. Hopefully Cade took in some USF baseball this season and kind of got the sliding technique down, and maybe go over to Jared Eaton or Roberto Pena and try to get some tips on sliding, because brother, you need it. Eric, okay, yeah. First game ticket giveaway plans, not yet. We've semi got something planned for Florida. Trying to figure out the fix on that. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be interactive. But for FAMU, shoot, I don't know. We may force you guys to meet somewhere.
We're going to say a code word in the middle of one of these broadcasts.
Right.
And you have to tell us the code. So you have to watch the entire thing.
Ooh, Dr. Leonard, prediction for NC State. I'm not ready for that yet. It'll be the week of the game podcast. You'll get it, or live stream, whatever we decide to do that week. Probably both. Probably before, by the time that you see the live cast, my prediction will probably change. So there's that.
He reserves the right to change all his picks.
Absolutely. Oh, Hector, don't be Steeg. Don't be Steeg.
I just he needs to post the GIF now of the Pied Piper. That's all that score tells me right there.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fun. Let's call it. I'm excited for this new wrinkle. I appreciate everyone who watched, and when this finishes, go retweet it, go share it far and wide. Let's get the word out that we're going to be doing this.
Yeah, and if you missed something and you want to go back and watch, check out the YouTube page. It should be posted there immediately after we end the broadcast here. And if you have YouTube Pro, you can kind of go in and out of it, listen to it, watch it, all that kind of stuff. So appreciate you guys listening and interacting with us. Hopefully we can start doing this more regularly.
For sure. All right, this has been TDS Live, Preseason Polls and Quarterback Room. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.